In the lush expanse of the Muvu forest, where the trees whispered ancient secrets and the rivers hummed melodious tunes, there lived a young fisherman named Kofi. Kofi was known throughout his village for his bravery and his deep love for the ocean, where he spent most of his days casting nets and dreaming of the mysteries that lay beneath the waves. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, Kofi overheard the elders speaking of an ancient legend. They spoke of a mermaid with scales that shimmered like the stars and eyes as deep as the ocean itself. This mermaid, they said, possessed the golden blood, a magical elixir that granted eternal youth and strength to whoever consumed it. Driven by a mixture of curiosity and the desire to bring honor to his village, Kofi decided to embark on a quest to find this mermaid and obtain the golden blood. He knew the journey would be fraught with peril, for the legend also spoke of formidable guardians and enigmatic riddles that protected the mermaid's lair. Early the next morning, Kofi prepared his small boat and set sail into the unknown, guided only by the stars and the tales of the old. The ocean was a tapestry of endless blue, and as he sailed further from home, the waves whispered warnings and fortunes. Days turned into weeks, and Kofi faced many challenges. He navigated through storms that roared like angry beasts, and he escaped the clutches of sea monsters whose tentacles threatened to drag him to the ocean floor. Through it all, Kofi's resolve never wavered. His heart was set on the mermaid and her golden blood. Eventually, Kofi reached a tranquil lagoon surrounded by cliffs that soared towards the sky. The water was crystal clear, revealing a colorful mosaic of coral and abundant sea life. As he anchored his boat, the surface of the water began to glow with a soft golden light. Mesmerized, Kofi watched as the mermaid emerged from the depths, her presence commanding yet serene. The mermaid spoke in a voice that echoed the melody of the ocean. "Kofi, brave fisherman, you have journeyed far and faced many perils. Why do you seek the golden blood?" Kofi, with utmost respect, replied, "Great mermaid, I seek the golden blood not for personal gain, but to protect my village from the ailments and hardships that have long plagued us." The mermaid listened intently, her eyes reflecting the depths of the sea. "Your heart is pure, Kofi, but the golden blood is sacred. To earn it, you must prove your worth through 3 trials. Each trial will test your courage, wisdom, and heart. Are you prepared to face them?" Without hesitation, Kofi nodded. "I am ready, for my love for my village is greater than the fears that await." The mermaid smiled, a gesture that seemed to calm the seas. "Then let your trials begin. Your first challenge will be to retrieve the Pearl of the Deep from the Cavern of Shadows. It is a place few have seen, and from where even fewer have returned." As the moon cast its silvery light over the lagoon, Kofi prepared himself for what would be the first of his many trials in this enchanting yet mysterious part of the ocean, where the line between myth and reality blurred. Kofi anchored his boat at the edge of the lagoon, his gaze locked on the entrance to the Cavern of Shadows. This abyss, cloaked in an eternal twilight, promised dangers and mysteries in its silent depths. Drawing a deep breath, he plunged into the cool water, his body cutting through the surface like a spear. The water around him darkened as he descended, the light from above fading until he was swimming in an underwater night. Guided by the luminescent corals and his keen instincts, Kofi navigated through the eerie tranquility of the cavern. The silence was broken only by the distant call of sea creatures and the steady beat of his heart. As he ventured deeper, the cavern opened up to reveal a chamber illuminated by bioluminescent algae. In the center, cradled by an ancient coral throne, lay the Pearl of the Deep. It glowed with a soft, mesmerizing light, its surface swirling with colors that mirrored the ocean's surface at dawn. However, guarding this treasure was the Leviathan, a serpent so vast its body seemed to merge with the walls of the cavern itself. Its eyes, like molten gold, fixed on Kofi with an intelligence that spoke of ancient wisdom and formidable power. "Who dares to seek the Pearl of the Deep?" the Leviathan hissed, its voice resonating through the water. Kofi, undeterred by the creature's daunting presence, responded with clarity and respect. "I, Kofi, have come with a pure heart, seeking the pearl to fulfill the mermaid's first trial." The Leviathan studied him, its gaze piercing through the darkness. "Many have come, yet none have left with the pearl. What makes you different, human?" "I come not for glory or fame, but for the well-being of my people," Kofi replied, his voice steady despite the fear that gnawed at him. Impressed by his resolve, the Leviathan coiled around, creating a current that tested Kofi's ability to remain steady. To claim the pearl, you must show mastery over the water that is my domain. Kofi steadied himself and swam with the current, moving with the grace and agility of a dolphin. He dove and twisted, his movements in harmony with the swirling waters. After what seemed like an eternity, the Leviathan halted the current and nodded in approval. "You have proven your mastery of water," it declared, moving aside to allow Kofi access to the pearl. With a grateful nod, Kofi approached the coral throne and gently lifted the pearl of the deep. As his fingers touched the smooth surface, a warmth spread through his body, a sign that the trial was complete. Returning to the surface with the pearl in hand, Kofi was greeted by the first rays of dawn. The ocean seemed to celebrate his victory, the waves dancing under the newborn sun. With the first trial behind him, he prepared himself for the next challenge, unaware of the new wonders and perils that awaited him. The mermaid, watching from a distance, smiled, her faith in the young fisherman's spirit growing stronger with each test he faced. With the pearl of the deep secured, Kofi now faced the second trial. The mermaid had spoken of a challenge that would test his wisdom, guiding him to seek the silent oracle hidden within a grove of whispering mangroves that bordered the lagoon. As he approached the grove, the air filled with the sound of leaves rustling like soft whispers. The mangroves stretched their gnarled roots into the water, creating a labyrinth that seemed to shift and change with each step Kofi took. The deeper he ventured, the quieter it became, until the only sound was his own breathing and the gentle lap of water against roots. In the heart of the grove, there stood an ancient statue carved from coral and adorned with shells. It was the silent oracle, known to speak only in riddles that reflected the asker's inner truth. Kofi bowed respectfully before the statue and spoke, "Wise oracle, I come to seek your knowledge to pass the mermaid's second trial." The oracle's eyes began to glow with a pale light, and a voice as soft as the sea foam filled the air. "To find what you seek, answer with care. I am the beginning of eternity, the end of time and space, the beginning of every end, and the end of every place. What am I?" Kofi pondered the riddle, his mind racing through possibilities. The mangroves stood silent as if holding their breath. He thought about the words, focusing on their meaning rather than their form. Finally, a realization dawned on him, simple yet profound. "The letter E," Kofi responded, confidence in his voice. The oracle's light brightened, and the air vibrated with a soft hum of approval. "You have seen beyond the surface, young seeker. Wisdom is yours to claim." With the riddle solved, a path cleared through the mangroves, leading Kofi back to the lagoon. He felt a sense of accomplishment, knowing that his mind had been tested and had not found wanting. As he emerged from the grove, the mermaid appeared before him, her tail flicking gracefully in the clear water. "You have shown great wisdom, Kofi, but one final trial remains. This will test your heart and your resolve." She pointed towards the distant horizon where the ocean met the sky in a line of silver. "There, beyond the far reefs, you will find the mirror of truth. Look into it and face what it reveals." Kofi nodded, his heart swelling with anticipation and a touch of apprehension. He knew this final trial might be the most daunting yet, for it required him to confront his deepest fears and desires. Yet, the trials thus far had prepared him, fortifying his spirit for whatever lay ahead. As the sun climbed higher, casting golden light across the shimmering waters, Kofi set his sights on the far reefs, ready to face the mirror of truth and whatever truths it might reveal about the core of his being. The waters around the far reefs shimmered with a spectrum of blues and greens, the colors shifting with the mood of the sea. Kofi paddled his boat through this liquid mosaic, feeling the ancient pulse of the ocean beneath him. Each stroke brought him closer to the fabled mirror of truth, a relic said to reveal the soul's deepest layers. Upon reaching the reefs, Kofi found them teeming with life. Brightly colored fish darted between the corals, and above seabirds circled, their cries piercing the air. The beauty of the scene was overwhelming, yet Kofi's mind was focused on the task at hand. He anchored his boat and dived into the cool depths. The mirror was said to reside in a cave guarded by the sentinels, twin moray eels whose scales sparkled like jewels and eyes gleamed with the wisdom of the deep. As Kofi approached the cave, the sentinels emerged, their long bodies coiling in a dance of warning. "Who approaches the mirror of truth?" one of the sentinels hissed, its voice echoing off the water-carved walls. Kofi responded with the calm he had maintained throughout his trials. I am Kofi, seeker of the mermaid's final test. I come to face what the mirror reveals. The sentinels regarded him with their piercing eyes, then silently they receded into the shadows of the cave, granting him passage. Inside, the cave was dimly lit by phosphorescent algae, casting an ethereal glow that seemed to pulse with the rhythm of the sea. There, embedded in the rock, was the mirror of truth. As Kofi stood before it, the surface began to swirl with mist and then cleared to show a reflection, not of his face but of his village. He saw the faces of his people, worn yet hopeful, and the children playing by the shore, their laughter a melody he had longed to preserve. The vision shifted, showing him the potential future, a thriving village, rejuvenated by the golden blood, and then a darker vision where the pursuit of the blood led to greed and ruin. The mirror then revealed Kofi himself, standing at the crossroads of these futures. The reflection was clear and unflinching, showing him the weight of his choices, the potential for both greatness and downfall. Kofi took a deep breath, absorbing the truths the mirror had shown. He realized that the final trial was not about confronting a physical danger, but the moral and ethical decisions he would face should he succeed in his quest. With a newfound understanding of the complexity of his quest, Kofi left the cave, the sentinels watching in silent acknowledgement of his bravery and insight. As he swam back to the surface, the weight of the mirror's revelations pressed upon him, yet his resolve did not waver. He knew what he had to do, understood the delicate balance he must maintain to ensure the well-being of his village. As he emerged from the water, the sun was setting, painting the sky with streaks of gold and purple, a daily rebirth that mirrored the renewal he hoped to bring to his people. With the trials complete, Kofi rowed back towards the lagoon, ready to return the pearl of the deep to the mermaid and discuss the future that awaited them all. His heart was heavy with responsibility, yet buoyed by the hope of what might come if guided by wisdom and compassion. The sun had begun its descent into the horizon as Kofi approached the tranquil waters of the lagoon. The sky, a canvas of deep oranges and purples, reflected softly upon the surface, creating a path that seemed to lead directly to the waiting mermaid. Her eyes shimmered with the light of 1,000 seas as she watched him draw near, the trials now behind him. As Kofi stepped onto the soft sands, he held the pearl of the deep aloft, its luminescence casting gentle waves of light around them. The mermaid, gliding through the water with an elegance that belied the power beneath her scales, met him at the shore. "You have returned, Kofi, and with the pearl," she observed, her voice a soothing melody that seemed to harmonize perfectly with the lap of the waves. "But your eyes tell of deeper insights gained. The mirror of truth did not spare you its hardest reflections." Kofi nodded, feeling the weight of his experiences settle around him like a cloak. "It showed me much about myself and the potential futures that could unfold. I am here not just to return the pearl, but to seek guidance on how best to use the golden blood for my people without bringing ruin upon them." The mermaid smiled, a gesture that carried both pride and a solemnity befitting the gravity of their discussion. "You have indeed learned much. The golden blood can heal and restore, but it can also incite greed and conflict. It must be used wisely and sparingly." Together, they walked along the water's edge, discussing the possible ways to safeguard the well-being of Kofi's village while maintaining the balance of nature and the sacredness of the golden blood. As they conversed, the mermaid instructed Kofi on how to extract just a small measure of the golden blood, enough to heal and invigorate, but not enough to tempt fate with its fuller powers. She explained the rituals and the cautions needed, her words imbued with the ancient wisdom of the sea. "Take this conch," the mermaid finally said, handing him a beautifully spiraled shell, its surface a tapestry of ocean hues. "When you return to your village, use it to call upon the seas for guidance. Should you ever be unsure or in need of aid, this conch will carry your request to me." Kofi accepted the conch, its weight a comforting solidity in his hands. "I will use it wisely and only in great need. And the golden blood, I will ensure it serves as a blessing, not a curse." As the night deepened, stars began to prick the velvet sky, each one a silent witness to the pact between man and mermaid. Kofi set his boat to return, the pearl of the deep and the conch his companions, the lessons of the trials his guide. The return to his village was marked not by triumphant fanfare, but by a quiet resolve. As he landed, the elders and the children gathered, sensing the change in him. the air around him tinged with the salt of the sea and the promise of renewed hope. He shared the tales of his trials, the wisdom of the mermaid, and the plans for the golden blood. The village listened, rapt and respectful, ready to support the path he had chosen to tread together. As the moon rose high, casting silvery light over the village, Kofi stood by the shore, the conch in his hand, feeling the pulse of the ocean's tides resonate with his heartbeat, the cycle of trials complete, yet the path of stewardship just beginning. As the first light of dawn touched the edges of the Muvu forest, it found Kofi by the shoreline, his thoughts as deep as the ocean that stretched before him. The village had awoken to a new era, one where the promises of healing and rejuvenation held by the golden blood were balanced by the wisdom of restraint. Kofi had taken to gathering the village healers, imparting the knowledge the mermaid had shared. They learned the sacred rituals to extract and utilize the golden blood, ensuring it was respected as a gift of the sea, not merely a resource to exploit. The healers, in turn, treated the ailing with care, their hands guided by the principles of harmony and balance. The children of the village, curious and eager, gathered around Kofi as he prepared for the rituals. He taught them about the ecosystems of the ocean, the importance of every creature within it, and how their lives were intricately connected to the sea. With each lesson, he used the conch to demonstrate the bond between their village and the waters, the sound of the sea echoing in each call. On a morning washed in golden sunlight, Kofi led the village to the shoreline for a ceremony of gratitude. The elders, the healers, and the children stood together, their eyes reflecting the glimmering horizon. Kofi raised the conch to his lips and blew a long, deep note that spiraled out over the waves. The sea responded. The mermaid appeared, her form shimmering between the crests of the waves. Her smile was broad as she witnessed the unity and respect with which the villagers now approached the gifts of the ocean. Kofi, your heart has taught you well. The sea watches and knows that its gifts will not be squandered, she called out, her voice carrying over the water. The villagers responded with a chant of their own, a melodic affirmation of their commitment to protect and cherish the sea's bounty. It was a moment of profound connection, the human and the marine worlds acknowledging their mutual dependency. As the ceremony concluded, Kofi walked along the beach, the sand cool under his feet. He thought of the trials, the insights gained, and the responsibilities embraced. The balance he had sought was taking shape, manifesting not just in the healed and the healed, but in the thriving marine life and the replenished fish stocks that the villagers harvested sustainably. Days flowed into weeks, and Kofi often found himself at the water's edge, consulting the conch, sometimes seeking guidance, other times simply reconnecting with the mermaid's wisdom. The villagers respected his moments by the sea, understanding that these were times of reflection and communion with the deeper truths of their existence. One evening, as the sun set in a spectacular display of crimson and gold, a group of young villagers approached Kofi with a proposal. They wished to create a festival to celebrate the sea, an annual event to teach others about the importance of the ocean and its preservation. Kofi listened, his heart swelling with pride, for he saw in their eager faces the future guardians of the Muvu waters. Together they planned the festival, weaving the stories of the trials, the golden blood, and the mermaid into the fabric of the event. The festival would serve as a reminder of the delicate threads that connected them all, the dance of nature and humanity performed on the grand stage of the world. As the festival day arrived, the village was alive with colors and sounds, the air rich with the scents of cooking and the ocean. Stalls displayed crafts inspired by sea life, and the healers shared their knowledge of medicinal herbs and practices. Kofi stood among his people, no longer just a fisherman, but a bridge between the human and the aquatic, a keeper of balance and a storyteller of the deep. The morning of the festival dawned clear and bright, with a gentle breeze stirring the palms that lined the Muvu village shore. Kofi walked among the preparations, his presence a calming force as the villagers adorned their booths with seashells, woven reeds, and bright cloths that fluttered like flags in the wind. Children laughed and darted through the setup, their excitement palpable in the air as they helped hang fish nets filled with colorful glass floats. Each float had been crafted to catch the light, a symbol of the sea's bounty and mystery. The elders watched, their faces lined with smiles, seeing the younger generation embrace the teachings and traditions that Kofi had helped revive. At the heart of the festival grounds, a large stage had been constructed from driftwood, its surface smoothed by the sea and sun. Here, Kofi would share the tale of his trials, the mermaid's wisdom, and the lessons of the golden blood. It was to be a performance for all ages, a story interwoven with dance and music, reflecting the rhythms of the ocean. As the sun climbed higher, visitors from neighboring villages began to arrive. They were greeted with garlands of flowers and shells, each welcome a gesture of friendship and community. The festival, though rooted in Muvu's traditions, was a beacon of unity, drawing diverse groups to share in the celebration of the sea. Kofi took his place on the stage as the crowd settled. The murmur of voices quieted to a hush as the drums began to beat, slow and steady, mimicking the heartbeat of the ocean. Dancers appeared beside Kofi, their bodies painted in blues and greens, moving fluidly as if underwater. He began his tale with the day he set out to find the mermaid, weaving his words with the movements of the dancers who enacted the trials. The audience watched, enraptured as the story unfolded, seeing the pearl of the deep sparkle in a dancer's hand, feeling the challenge of the silent oracle in the puzzling riddle shared, and facing the mirror of truth through reflective dance that showed the potential futures of their actions. Throughout the performance, the conch shell was passed among the villagers, each person sounding it in turn. Its call was a reminder of their connection to the sea and to each other, a call that transcended individual stories and spoke of a collective stewardship. As the day faded into evening, the festival continued with a feast of seafood harvested sustainably from the Muvu waters. The meals were prepared in ways that honored the ocean, with spices that evoked the spray of the sea and textures that reminded them of the shore's embrace. Workshops were held by the elders, teaching about navigation by the stars and the weather patterns, sharing knowledge that Kofi had gathered during his time beyond the village. Youngsters learned to knot nets and carve wood into shapes that spoke of their heritage and hopes. As night fell, lanterns were lit along the beach, casting a warm glow that reflected off the gentle waves. Music filled the air, a fusion of old melodies and new tunes, as the community danced together. Their footprints in the sand, a tapestry of their shared lives and dreams. Kofi stood back for a moment, watching his village alive with joy and unity. He felt the pulse of the festival, a vibrant beat that promised to endure, echoing the timeless call of the ocean. A call to respect, protect, and celebrate the deep and wondrous sea that sustained them all. As the festival of the tides drew to a close, the moon hung full and bright over Muvu, casting a silvery glow across the gathered community. The final event of the evening was to commence, a ritual that symbolized the deep bond between the villagers and the ocean, a bond renewed through Kofi's wisdom and their shared experiences. Gathered at the water's edge, every villager held a small handmade boat crafted from banana leaves and reeds. Inside each was a candle, lit and flickering softly against the gentle night breeze. One by one, they placed their boats on the water's surface, watching as they drifted out to sea, a flotilla of light on the dark waters, carrying their hopes and prayers for the future. Kofi stood with his arms open towards the sea, his voice lifting in a song of gratitude and promise. The villagers joined in, their voices melding into a harmonious chorus that danced with the lap of the waves. The song spoke of respect for the sea's gifts, the courage to face deep truths, and the wisdom to maintain balance with nature. As the last echoes of the song faded into the night, a hush fell over the crowd. It was then that the sea responded. From the depths, glowing figures emerged, schools of bioluminescent fish, their light mingling with that of the floating candles. It was as if the ocean itself was joining in their celebration, acknowledging the vows made by the villagers to protect and cherish its vast mysterious realms. The mermaid, unseen yet deeply felt by all, watched from the waves. Her heart was full, knowing that Kofi and his people had truly understood the lessons of the golden blood. They had embraced their role not just as beneficiaries of the sea's abundance, but as guardians of its wonders and secrets. In this moment, the bond between the humans and the mermaid was stronger than ever, sealed by mutual respect and a shared commitment to harmony. This connection promised to extend far beyond the festival, guiding the villagers in all their future endeavors, whether they faced calm seas or stormy waters. As the night waned and the first light of dawn hinted at the horizon, Kofi walked along the beach, his thoughts as vast as the ocean. He picked up a conch shell, its spiral a perfect symbol of life's continuous cycles and complexities. Blowing into the shell, he sent a message of thanks to the mermaid, a signal that resonated across the calm sea, a vow of ongoing dialogue and mutual guardianship. The festival might have ended, but its spirit remained, woven into the fabric of Muvu's daily life. Children who had watched the stories unfold would grow up with a profound understanding of their cultural heritage and environmental responsibilities. They would tell their own tales one day, stories inspired by Kofi's adventures and their own connections to the sea. Kofi returned to his home as the village settled into a peaceful sleep. The festival had not only been a celebration of the sea, but a reaffirmation of their community's resilience and unity. In his heart, Kofi knew that as long as they listened to the rhythms of the earth and sea, respected the past, and looked to the future with thoughtful care, Muvu would thrive. The harmony between the heart and the sea, a melody composed of courage, wisdom, and love, would continue to guide them, as endless and profound as the ocean itself.